In the spring of 1981, the world watched as a young woman, radiant and full of promise, prepared to enter the most scrutinized family in the world. Lady Diana Spencer, barely 19, was soon to become engaged to Prince Charles, the heir to the British throne. Her engagement was announced with the pomp and ceremony befitting centuries of tradition. Yet beneath the gilded surface of royal expectation lay currents of complexity, history, and human emotion that few could fully perceive. Charles, Prince of Wales, approached this union with a mixture of duty, obligation, and the quiet remnants of a past connection that had never fully faded. Camilla Parker Bowles, then married but deeply entwined with the prince's earlier life, remained a figure in the background, her presence known yet largely unspoken, a shadow cast upon the future of the monarchy that would resonate for decades. As Diana prepared for her new life, the public's fascination was immediate and consuming. Newspapers chronicled every detail: the gown she would wear, the tiara she would inherit, the engagements she would attend, and the youthful exuberance she displayed at every royal appearance. Yet the world outside the palace gates could never truly understand the intricate web of relationships, expectations, and past allegiances that shaped the household she was about to join. Diana was not merely marrying a man, she was entering an institution, a centuries-old network of protocol, precedence, and power, where every glance and every word would be weighed against tradition and public perception. From the very beginning, there was a tension invisible to most. Charles had carried the weight of his previous emotional entanglement with Camilla, a relationship that had endured quietly alongside his duties and responsibilities. This history was neither fully concealed nor openly discussed, creating a subtle strain on the young princess as she stepped into her role. Diana, ever perceptive and deeply empathetic, sensed the unspoken presence of Camilla, though she lacked the context and experience to fully navigate its implications. The palace, with all its formality, could not insulate her from the reality that she was entering a story that had already begun long before her name appeared upon it. As preparations for the wedding proceeded, the contrasts between Diana's innocence and the complex dynamics of Charles's prior relationships became more apparent. Charles himself faced the difficult balance of fulfilling his duty as heir to the throne while reconciling lingering emotions from a connection that had not fully concluded. It was a delicate tension, woven through formal meetings, private conversations, and public ceremonies, shaping the decisions of all involved. The monarchy's history was written in such subtleties: alliances maintained, loyalties tested, and personal desires subdued beneath the weight of responsibility. The engagement period was marked by an extraordinary mixture of celebration and pressure. The public adored Diana for her beauty, charm, and apparent sweetness. She became, almost instantly, a symbol of hope and renewal for the monarchy, a living emblem of continuity and youth. Yet behind the smiles and the carefully choreographed public appearances, the young princess was learning the intricate art of royal life, where appearances often concealed truths, and where alliances and rivalries moved beneath the surface, unseen but ever present. Camilla's quiet influence, though never acknowledged openly, lingered as part of the history Charles carried with him into this new chapter. As the wedding day approached, the stakes could not have been higher. Every aspect of the ceremony, from the grandeur of Westminster Abbey to the smallest details of protocol, reflected not only the continuity of tradition, but the complex intersections of past and present relationships. The young princess, in her ivory silk and lace, embodied the future of the monarchy, yet she did so with the awareness, however nascent, of a man's history that would shape her life in ways the public could not yet comprehend. The world cheered, the press celebrated, and the monarchy projected an image of stability. But beneath the spectacle lay the intricate dance of emotion, history, and human imperfection. The marriage itself, in those first days and weeks, reflected the optimism and joy that the world wished to see. Diana moved through her new life with charm, grace, and an innate understanding of the public gaze. Yet Charles's heart, complex and burdened by years of deferred affection and the subtle echoes of his past with Camilla, introduced tensions that would quietly shape the unfolding narrative. The young princess, full of idealism, could not yet perceive the intricate layers of relationships that would come to define her experience, nor the resilience she would need to navigate the demands of a life so public and yet so private at its core. Even at the outset, it was clear that the story of Charles, Diana, and Camilla was not one of simple binaries. It was not merely a tale of love or betrayal, of happiness or regret. It was the story of duty and desire, of personal longing entangled with institutional expectation, and of a young woman stepping into a role that required the utmost grace, intelligence, and emotional fortitude. Diana's early days as a princess revealed her brilliance at understanding people, at reading subtle signals, and at carrying herself with dignity, even as unseen tensions lingered just beyond the public gaze. In these first months of marriage, the invisible threads connecting Charles to Camilla remained, subtle yet persistent. The young Diana, despite her intelligence and perceptiveness, faced a challenge unprecedented in modern royal history: how to negotiate her own identity and agency within a structure that demanded obedience, loyalty, and deference to tradition, while the past continued to echo around her. The public, of course, remained largely unaware of the depth of these dynamics, seeing only the outward smiles, the media-crafted photographs, and the ceremonial displays of unity and affection. But within the palace walls, the reality was far more nuanced, filled with quiet moments of reflection, tension, and anticipation that would shape the course of decades. It was in this atmosphere that Diana began to cultivate the qualities that would define her legacy: empathy, awareness, courage, and an uncanny ability to connect with people across the social spectrum. She learned to navigate the immense pressures of royal life with poise, while the subtle history between Charles and Camilla cast a shadow over the domestic and emotional landscape of the young princess's life. Every smile, every word, every gesture was measured against the backdrop of expectation, tradition, and a past that could not be rewritten. And so, the engagement and early marriage of Charles and Diana stand not merely as historical events, but as the beginning of a complex narrative in which love, duty, history, and human emotion intertwine. Camilla's role, understated yet undeniably present, shaped the contours of this story, influencing decisions, moments of reflection, and the trajectory of relationships that would come to define the modern monarchy. The foundation was laid for a tale that was to unfold with extraordinary drama, poignancy, and consequence, touching not only the lives of those directly involved, but capturing the imagination and empathy of a global audience for generations to come. The early months of Diana's marriage were filled with appearances that showcased the optimism of a nation invested in the promise of youth, beauty, and renewal. She moved through grand palaces, attended state functions, and engaged with the public in ways that revealed both her innate charm and the extraordinary discipline required by royal life. Yet behind every smile, every wave, there existed the subtle undercurrents of the past, the unspoken presence of Camilla Parker Bowles, whose history with Charles lingered in quiet, almost imperceptible ways. Though rarely mentioned in public, Camilla's place in the narrative of Charles's life was a constant factor, shaping perceptions, decisions, and the emotional landscape of the young princess. Diana's natural intelligence and empathy allowed her to understand, in part, the complexities she had entered. She saw, with acute clarity, the delicacy of human relationships constrained by duty and public scrutiny. She began to navigate these waters with care, learning the balance between expressing emotion and maintaining the composure expected of a future queen. The contrast between her youthful idealism and the seasoned realities of the palace created a tension that was both personal and emblematic of the challenges faced by the monarchy as a whole, a centuries-old institution grappling with a modern, highly visible world. Charles, meanwhile, continued to grapple with the duality of his life, the obligations of a prince, and the lingering emotional bonds formed years before. His love for Camilla, tempered by time, circumstance, and duty, created a layer of complexity that would not be visible to the public eye. Yet it shaped the interactions and emotional climate of the household. Diana, entering this world as both an insider and an outsider, faced the challenge of carving out her own space, her own identity, while understanding that the prince she had married carried a history that could not be altered. The palace, in all its splendor, became both a stage and a crucible, testing the resilience of those within it. In public, Diana's popularity soared. She had an almost immediate connection with the people, a warmth and authenticity that transcended protocol. Yet in private, the realities of her marriage began to unfold. Intimacy and understanding, which many had assumed would follow the fairy tale narrative of her engagement, were often overshadowed by the residual emotional complexity of Charles's previous relationships. Camilla, though largely absent from public discourse, remained an invisible presence, a figure entwined with history and memory, whose legacy influenced the decisions and interactions within the royal family. Diana, still learning the immense responsibilities and pressures of her new role, began to recognize the quiet tension that existed between idealism and expectation. Her natural curiosity and intelligence allowed her to perceive the undercurrents within the household, the subtle alliances, the gestures that spoke volumes, and the unspoken realities that shaped her life. While the public consumed images of a radiant bride and a harmonious union, the palace contained a far more complex narrative, one that would come to define the experiences of all involved. The engagement and early marriage also highlighted the intersection between public perception and private emotion. Diana's every action was observed, recorded, and analyzed by an unrelenting media landscape, creating pressures that few historical figures had encountered at such a young age. The contrast between the fairy tale image presented to the world and the nuanced realities behind palace walls created a dynamic that demanded both courage and discretion. In this environment, Camilla's historical role, though often overlooked in public narratives, remained an essential element of the emotional architecture that Diana had to navigate. As Diana settled into her role, she began to cultivate her own identity, one rooted in empathy, compassion, and awareness. She became adept at balancing the demands of public life with her private reflections, learning to project confidence while managing personal vulnerability. This delicate balancing act defined much of her early experiences and would continue to shape her approach to duty, relationships, and her enduring legacy. Yet always, in the quiet moments of reflection, there existed an awareness of the history that preceded her. A history in which Camilla's presence, though discreet, was indelibly etched into the narrative of Charles's life. The public's fascination with Diana, Charles, and the unseen Camilla grew steadily during this period. Every appearance, every formal engagement, and every public smile became a symbol not merely of individual personalities, but of a monarchy navigating the complexities of human emotion, historical precedent, and public expectation. The story unfolding before the world's eyes was layered and intricate, shaped by love, duty, and the interplay of past and present relationships. It was a story in which Diana's brilliance and humanity shone, yet one in which the echoes of history remained unavoidable. In the private sphere, Diana's observations of Charles's character and his emotional attachments became increasingly significant. She began to recognize the subtle gestures and choices that reflected the prince's continued connection to Camilla, understanding that her role as a wife encompassed not only companionship, but also the careful navigation of emotional realities shaped by years of prior relationships. The young princess's intelligence, insight, and emotional acuity were tested continually, forming the foundation for the resilience that would later define her life and legacy. It was during these formative months of marriage that Diana's enduring qualities, grace, empathy, and fortitude began to emerge in full measure. She faced a world of extraordinary expectations, navigating relationships both visible and invisible, and doing so with a poise that captured the public's admiration. Yet beneath the surface, the dynamics between Charles, Diana, and Camilla were quietly shaping the emotional landscape of the household, revealing patterns of attachment, loyalty, and longing that would continue to reverberate throughout the years to come. Through all of this, the monarchy itself stood as both protector and arbiter. It demanded duty above desire, protocol above personal fulfillment, and continuity above individual preference. Diana, as the new princess, learned to reconcile her youthful expectations with the realities of her position, while Charles managed the complex interplay between love, obligation, and history. Camilla's role, subtle yet persistent, remained a constant element of this intricate balance, shaping choices, influencing emotions, and silently affecting the trajectory of all involved. And so, the early months of Diana's marriage were defined by contrasts between public adoration and private tension, between youthful idealism and historical weight, between the visible joys of a royal wedding and the unseen emotional complexities shaped by a man's past. In this environment, Diana began to forge the qualities that would define her life: the ability to connect with people, to navigate expectation with dignity, and to maintain grace under scrutiny. At the same time, the invisible presence of Camilla, woven into the tapestry of history and human attachment, would continue to influence the unfolding story in ways both subtle and profound. The years that followed Diana's entrance into the royal family were marked by extraordinary public fascination, private heartache, and the relentless scrutiny of the world. Her life, vibrant and luminous, became inseparable from the narrative of the monarchy itself, a narrative shaped as much by duty as by desire, as much by the eyes of the public as by the hearts of those within the palace walls. Through all this, the presence of Camilla, quiet yet enduring, remained a subtle but undeniable force, a reminder that the past is never truly gone, and that human connections, even when hidden from view, shape the course of events. Diana's brilliance as a princess lay not only in her charm or beauty, but in her profound empathy and courage. She moved with grace through an environment that demanded perfection, navigating complexities few could understand. Every gesture, every engagement, and every interaction carried layers of significance as she balanced the expectations of tradition with her own humanity. She became a figure of hope and identification for millions around the world, a living testament to the possibilities of compassion, warmth, and resilience in the face of extraordinary pressures. Charles, meanwhile, continued to negotiate the delicate balance of love, duty, and history. His loyalty to the monarchy demanded sacrifice, yet his past with Camilla persisted as an undercurrent of emotional complexity. The tension between the life he had chosen and the attachments he had carried became increasingly apparent, shaping decisions and relationships within the royal household. In this delicate weave of past and present, both Diana and Camilla occupied essential roles, each influencing the other, whether through direct interaction, subtle gestures, or the unspoken realities of memory and connection. The dissolution of Diana and Charles's marriage, though painful and deeply public, revealed the profound humanity of all involved. It exposed vulnerabilities, ambitions, regrets, and enduring loyalties, reminding the world that the lives of the monarchy are neither simple nor immune to the forces of emotion and circumstance. Through this period, Camilla's own journey toward reconciliation, acceptance, and ultimately a more public role as queen consort mirrored the challenges faced by Diana, both women navigating expectation, judgment, and the weight of history, each in their own way, defining their legacy within the institution they served. In the years following Diana's death, reflection cast a new light upon the intertwined lives of the three figures at the heart of this story. The public began to understand the layers of complexity, the subtle interplays of duty, affection, and restraint that had defined their relationships. Camilla, once the subject of scrutiny and speculation, gradually assumed her role with dignity, compassion, and understanding of the sensitivities surrounding the memory of Diana. Charles, too, carried forward, acknowledging both the past and the present, the burdens of choice, and the responsibilities of the crown. Diana's legacy, immortalized in charity, public consciousness, and the lives she touched, remains profound and enduring. She transformed the role of a princess, showing that influence could come not only from status, but from empathy, presence, and courage. Camilla, having endured her own challenges, emerged as a figure of resilience and steady commitment, demonstrating that history, once shaped by circumstance, can still be met with grace and understanding. Charles, balancing these forces, exemplified the delicate interplay between duty and desire, history and present, responsibility and emotion. The story of Diana, Camilla, and Charles is not one of simple narrative. It is a story of human lives entwined within the structures of monarchy, of love and loyalty, of regret and reconciliation, of public expectation and private reality. It is a story that reminds us that history is not merely events, but the ongoing interaction of choices, relationships, and the enduring influence of character. The monarchy, sustained through centuries of tradition, continues to evolve through the decisions and conduct of those within it, shaped by the very human qualities of those who carry its legacy forward. In the end, the tale of these three lives reflects the complexities of love, the pressures of duty, and the resilience of the human heart. Diana's brilliance and compassion, Camilla's perseverance and dignity, and Charles's struggle between past and present illuminate a story that resonates far beyond the palace walls. It is a story that teaches empathy, understanding, and the enduring importance of navigating life with courage and integrity. As the monarchy moves into a new era, the lessons of their intertwined lives remain. They remind us that even within the grandeur of tradition, human emotion shapes history. That legacy is forged not only by position, but by choices, and that the stories of individuals, when entwined with institutions larger than themselves, carry both extraordinary weight and lasting influence. The lives of Diana, Camilla, and Charles, with all their triumphs and trials, remain a testament to the enduring power of resilience, compassion, and the complex beauty of the human heart within the tapestry of history. And so, as the world remembers Diana's extraordinary spirit, Camilla's quiet perseverance, and Charles's navigation of duty and desire, the story of this remarkable triangle comes to rest not as a tale of simple victories or failures, but as a living narrative of love, loss, history, and enduring humanity. Thanks for watching.